3 weeks after my business collapse, I spent 6 straight hours replaying one conversation with my business partner. It was the same words, same topics, over and over, analyzing every single thing, trying to figure out when every piece of my business went wrong. By hour 4, I was physically exhausted, but I could not stop. And that's when I realized something terrifying. I wasn't solving anything by thinking over and over again. I was keeping myself trapped in hell. Here's the 3-rule system that broke me out of that mental prison in 72 hours. Before I give you those 3 rules, you need to understand what's actually happening when you overthink. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what's real and what you're replaying in your head. Every time I relived the conversation or the moment everything crumbled down, my body experienced the same stress, the same anger, and the same betrayal as if it was happening right now. I kept feeding my energy to a dead situation, keeping myself energetically attached to that version of me that no longer existed. You know that feeling when you're replaying an argument in your head with somebody and you're like angry all over again? That's what happens with your nervous system. It literally relives those experiences. You are not healing, you are not fixing, you're re-traumatizing yourself on repeat. The breakthrough happened when I realized overthinking during transitions isn't problem solving, it's grieving. You're mourning the death of your old identity. But most people get stuck in the grief because they don't understand what's actually happening. Here's rule 1. Those overthinking thoughts, they are not you. They are your old identity fighting for survival. They're throwing every thought it can to keep you attached to the past. Let me show you what this looks like in my life. After I had a breakup, I'd be having a good day, I'd feel optimistic, and then suddenly thoughts like, well, what if she was right? Or did I screw up? Or what if I never find anyone better? That was not me thinking, that was my boyfriend identity. It was panicking because it was dying. Your ex-employee identity does the same thing. Your failed business owner identity does the same thing. When you catch yourself overthinking, say out loud, this is not me. This is my old identity trying to survive. I started treating all these thoughts popping up like spam emails. They show up in my inbox, but because they're there, that does not mean I have to read them. I don't have to respond to them. I do not have to believe them. The goal isn't to suppress these thoughts. It's to stop identifying with them. You're not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Rule 2 is really brutal but necessary. Quit trying to communicate with the dead. Stop replaying conversations. Don't analyze what you could have done differently. Stop trying to resurrect what's already over. Every time you mentally revisit that breakup conversation or that layoff meeting or that business failure, you're conducting a seance. You're trying to bring something back to life that needs to stay buried. 3 months after my business collapse, I was still having imaginary conversations with my ex-partner, still trying to win arguments that had already happened. I was like stuck in the moment, glued to that moment. You have finite mental energy, and every minute you spend trying to revive the past is a minute stolen from building your future. The dead situation does not need your energy. Your new life needs your energy. Rule 3, stop waiting for external permission to move forward. You don't need your ex to validate you. You don't need your old boss to acknowledge your worth. You don't need anybody's approval to start over. All you need is your permission. After my business failed, I spent weeks researching and asking mentors for advice, hopping on calls, paying for programs, looking for somebody to tell me I was ready to try again. I was seeking permission from everyone except the only person who can give it to me, which was me. Here's a simple thing you can do to break the pattern. Make one decision today without asking anyone's opinion. Maybe what you'll eat or what you'll read or where you'll go. Start rebuilding your ability to trust yourself. Your old identity needed permission because it was insecure. Your new identity gives itself permission because it trusts its own process. Now, here's what to do when overthinking hits in real time. I call this the release technique. There's 3 parts to this, 3 different things you can try. The first part of this technique is simply stop and observe. When you notice those emotions and thoughts start to pour in, just stop and watch them. Treat them like a bird flying by you. You're looking at it, and eventually the bird will fly away and you won't even remember the bird. The thoughts and emotions won't feel comfortable. It'll feel really painful. It'll feel like you're dying, but you stay detached enough for them to burn out. This will get easier and easier the more you do it, but do not bottle them up or resist when they pop through. Sit there, let the thoughts come in, and feelings pour out. Now, immediately after that, jump into physical interrupts. So the moment you notice the loop starting to fade, do something physical. I keep a list, 20 push-ups, I'll hit a cold shower, I'll walk to the end of the block, or my personal favorite, I'll just sit still and let every thought and emotion come up without fighting, and until it burns out, I'll immediately jump up out of wherever I'm laying. Lastly, change your environment. It's very simple. If you're overthinking in bed, go to the kitchen. If you're spiraling at your desk, go outside. Your nervous system links certain spaces with certain thought patterns. So if you spend all this time in your room just freaking out, get out. Break the space, break the pattern. The key is having these ready before you need them. When you're in the spiral, you can't think your way out. You need listed, predetermined techniques that will bypass the analytical mind. Here's what changed for me after I implemented these 3 rules. The time I spent obsessively thinking about failed businesses went from 6 hours a day to 6 minutes. The mental replays of my breakup went from constant background noise to occasional whispers. But the real transformation was I started having mental space for new ideas, new opportunities, new relationships. When you're not spending 80% of your mental energy on the past, you have bandwidth for creating your future. 3 months after implementing this system, I launched my new business that is now generating $25,000 per month. 6 months later, I began to meet women that align with the life that I'm building, and none of this was possible while I was still married to my old life. Right now, I want you to try the release technique. Set a timer for 5 minutes, sit still, and let whatever thoughts come up without fighting them. Don't try to force them to come up. Whatever comes up, just allow them. Allow them to come up, observe, and when the timer goes off, comment what came up. Let me know if it was easier or harder than expected. Subscribe, because next week I'm breaking down those weird moments when life starts pulling you forward again, how to follow them without forcing outcomes. The overthinking stops when you stop feeding it. Use these 3 roles starting today and watch how quickly your mental clarity returns.